Okay, we're coming to you live from beautiful downtown, southern, sunny California. All right, we are sitting here representing Insane Friends. That's Victor Sane with Sane Auto. He has a car show videos on his channel. Um, they're very high end, and Insane Friends is comes from Victor Sane with Insane Auto here on YouTube. All right, so we're kind of waiting for people to show up. And so something not everybody thinks about is when you go live, you're sitting there. Hi, Jackie Smith. Thanks for dropping in. We'll be discussing this hydrogen on demand. I put a link in the description. Which is one. There's another link I'm going to add to the description where you can purchase books and get lots of information on this hydrogen on demand. A wealth of information. I mean, a storehouse full, literally. They have books and all kinds of information on it. But kind of waiting for a few more people to show up. And if not, we'll discuss some stuff anyway. But something most people aren't thinking about when they're going live here on YouTube is you sit, you scratch your head, you look around the room, and it's dead time. And the person coming in after the live stream, they're sitting there watching you do nothing. And it's a time killer. They're there looking for information or what's the topic about, and nothing's really being said, and it's just wasted time, So you want to be engaging from the moment you go live. And that's why I start most of my live streams off with, or any of them with, my introduction and that kind of thing. I just recently have Wi-Fi here at the house after a year plus of having a YouTube channel. So I don't have a real introduction to my channel like most people do. And I look forward to doing that. I have a logo that I have in my head, and I got to get that moving forward too so I can put my logo up on my channel. It'll be really interesting, creative. And so I look forward to presenting that, putting it up on my channel. That'd be cool. So anyways, Jackie Smith is here. Thanks for being here, Jackie. I really would like to wait a few minutes here before I start talking about this hydrogen because it does work. I remember when the Mythbusters were on TV, they went about everything wrong on purpose to poo-poo it down, to invalidate the reality and the real truth behind hydrogen because it does work. I personally have experienced great results. We have 2 people in the chat. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for your time and for being here. I had a 04 Dodge Dakota V6. When I purchased it, I'm thinking it's a small truck. It's got a V6. I'll get, 20 miles a gallon, maybe better. I'm talking city driving, not highway, city. City driving gave me like 16 miles a gallon city and like 2 more miles a gallon. I got like 18 highway. What a joke for a small truck. Shame on Dodge. That's just ripping off the public, the consumer. And 16 city and 18 highway. I don't know anything about, honestly, I'm just willing to listen. Thank you for being here. You'll learn some things. And there's a website I'm going to mention. Actually, a couple of them. But one has books and stuff that you can order from and create all kinds of stuff. And it really works. But I went from getting 18 miles a gallon highway to 36, doubling my mileage. And 24 city from 16 to 24. That's 6 more miles a gallon, you know. And you add, you know, that equates to a gallon, a tank of gas. And so you just added quite a bit, you know, you've just doubled your mileage or almost doubled it, you know, at least increased it by a third, which is great. It makes it well worth it. Jackie, are you familiar with Insane Friends? Insane Friends, they're a group of guys. A lot of them have street cars that they race and build for shows and things of that nature. That's what the Insane Friends is about. And I'm here, you know, representing Victor Sane, who has a car show videos, really high-end, top-notch car show videos. Scott's thoughts and stuff. How you doing, brother? Thanks for being in. Thanks for dropping in. And so that's Sane Auto here on YouTube. And so I guess I'll start sharing with you more detailed information. I'm doing well, been working like a mad person. Well, good. You know, it's Christmas, extra money. That's a blessing for sure, Scott. I used to work 70, 80 hours a week. You know, if I was doing 60 hours a week, I felt like I was getting a break. And that's for real. But I loved what I was doing. I was doing custom staircases, radiuses, you know, the ones with the radius, you know, that goes up. And lots of challenge, you know, made you think, really liked it. Yes, the money, yeah, definitely. So this is Christmas. That's a blessing. All right, so far as the hydrogen. Hydrogen, you can take a canning jar, a big mouth canning jar. You need stainless steel. I don't care if it's a stainless steel bolt or bolts, negative and positive. I don't care if you have a stainless steel plates, like people are using like switch plates, you know, to your switches, you know, for your light switch. Stainless steel switch plates some people are using. It's just convenient. Just go out, you know, buy a couple of switch plates. In its basic form. And what happens is you're using 12 volts from your battery. And then you need one of those switches. What's that called, Joe? The switches that turn the power off and on. You turn your key off and on.
Relay.
A relay switch. Joe MacGyver's here.
But those plates that you're talking about,
they have to be stainless, not steel. They have to be stainless steel
they're
plates.
only coated.
Well, then it will last as long as the coating lasts. But you want solid stainless, I know I've heard of guys using them, or you get a stainless steel plate, okay? And you can drill a hole through it, and wrap your wire around it real tight, solder it on there. Hey, HTAJH Travels. Hello, YouTube friends dropping by. Well, stick around and learn about some hydrogen. It really works, and it can give your car, each car is different. Bigger the motor, actually, the better the savings on your gas mileage. Let me tell you why you have a catalytic converter. You have a catalytic converter because it burns up 80% of the fuel going out to your exhaust pipe. Your car only runs on the 20% gas that comes in because 80% is going out the tailpipe. That's why you have to have a catalytic converter. And to prove my point, if you think about some of these older movies, like guys are drag racing or whatever, Wrenches and Borders, thanks for dropping in. Thanks for being here. On the older movies, you'll see these guys revving, they're at a race, you know, they're lining up and they're revving their motors and they start to take off, and then it shows flames, an actual flame shooting out the tailpipe. Well, I'm here to tell you that's for real. This is a very dangerous topic because talking about people having lost their lives about this. Scott's thoughts and stuff. Well, I can tell you some safeguards. I've had it on my vehicle for several years, and no issues. There's some safety devices you put in along the way, and like anything, gasoline can be dangerous. Propane can be dangerous. So got to be smart. Got to think about what you're doing, not be reckless. Reckless is where the problem is. So, anyways, so to prove the point, now I was in barber school way back when in the South, and I had this old timer come in, probably about 90 years old, for a haircut, and he was talking to me how that they used to drill a hole about 2 foot back from the end of their exhaust pipe, drill a hole in that exhaust pipe about 2 foot back, take a spark plug and screw a spark plug up into that hole, and then they'd run a positive wire back, and all they had to do is flip a switch, and they're accelerating, and wham, you get flames shooting out the tailpipe.
No.
Now, so my point here is you're only running on 20% of your gasoline. All right. Now, the catalytic converter we have nowadays burns up that unburnt fuel. But to prove the point, that's why I brought up the spark plug and the exhaust pipe and shooting flames out, because you had all this raw gas going out the tailpipe. Now, hydrogen changes that. When you hook up hydrogen on your vehicle, you start burning green. Because what happens is your hydrogen goes into your intake manifold as close as you can if you have a new car that has a computer and all of that, to your throttle body or your injectors coming into your intake. So right there, right before the intake, you go into the plastic right there before the throttle body, and you drill a hole and you put a line there, okay? And that goes over to your device. So it's self-propelled. It goes in, gets sucked in with the gas, and it gives your gas a better burn. Instead of your car running on 20% gas that's going into it, it's running on all of your gas coming into it. Florida's Pirate Adventures, thanks for dropping in. Stick around, you'll be glad you did. And so the hydrogen goes in, mixes with the gas, and burns that gas up. Now, let me show you, I'll tell you the proof behind this. I would go from where I live to Vegas. It's about a 3-hour trip. I'd burn about a half a gallon of gas to get there. And when I first put this on my car, I was going to see a friend. And when I put this on my truck, I should say initially, I'd doing 55, 60 and babying my car. I was trying to maximize my gas mileage, and I was being ultra conservative and just cruising at about 55, 60. Well, after doing this for 3 or 4 months, I decided, well, let's see. I'm going to drive to Vegas. I'm going to do 80, 90. God forbid I get a ticket, but I'm going to test the waters here. So that's this, if there are 2 hydrogen molecules to every 1 oxygen in H2O. Yes, exactly, Scott. That's very true. And so this time I go to Vegas, and I'm cruising 80, 90, 95, 75, 65, and I'm just driving. Guess what? To my surprise, because I didn't know at the time, I got there. This is why the CA power cars with water. Yeah, they call it water. It's not really water. They're separating the hydrogen from the water, but yeah, you got a container with water there. Now, we'll get into all of that here in a minute. So here I cruise to Vegas, going as fast as I want to go, cruising. I'm not trying to conserve. I'm just driving, right? I got to Vegas with the same gas mileage as I did when I went 50 miles an hour, 55, 60 miles an hour. All right. And so I was like, wow, usually you're driving down the road. If you're doing 55 miles an hour, you're going to get your best mileage, right? Anything under 60. And with the hydrogen, I got 36 at 50 miles an hour, 60. But because it's burning all the gas in the chamber, regardless, you can do 55 and get 36 miles a gallon, or you can do 80 miles an hour and get 36 miles a gallon. It doesn't change. You get the same mileage regardless. That's why I'm saying it really works. That's my experience. And this isn't hype. I don't have nothing for sale. I'm just sharing the information to help you out. Now, I guess I need, as I'm sitting here thinking, and after Scott shared what he did, I need to set up. I have a video loaded here. I'm going to have to retrieve that video and put it in the description. Because what you have is you have your stainless steel bolts or plates in a jar or a plastic tube. Okay. You got wires going to it. And in this container, your water, you put distilled water. And the reason you put distilled water, because as you're separating the hydrogen and oxygen from the water, over a period of several months, you get a sediment buildup at the bottom that looks like rust because it's minerals. Okay. And so you use distilled water for that reason, or otherwise you'd get a bunch of rust, bunch of heavy deposit. Well, it's not heavy, but it's deposits that are being separated from the water that settle at the bottom. Okay. So you use distilled water so you don't have all those minerals in the water to start with, or else you'll end up with a whole lot of deposits in there. And if you're using metal bolts, your metal bolts go down in your jar and hanging from the lid, and you use a plastic lid. And so they're so far off the bottom of the jar. Well, you get the sediment that's down, that builds up in the space from the bottom, because the top of my finger here represents the bottom of your bolt. Anyways, then you want to pour out the heavy stuff and add a little bit more water. Okay, Joe MacGyver, you can shoot flames out from the coil. Just run a wire. Okay, what I was saying before, when people had problems in the past, they were something that if they didn't destroy if they destroyed it, they would in very deep trouble. Jackie Smith always used distilled water for everything that uses to run for the same reason, minerals. Okay, yeah. I just did on my wife's car. I just put in a water, I'm going brain dead. My mind's somewhere else. Radiator. And when I mix the water and the antifreeze, I use distilled water, which generally isn't something you hear, but that's really the best way to do it. I use tap water my whole life in the radiator, but distilled water is the way you really want to do it, if you're able to do that. Okay, so back on subject. So, just got distracted. Okay, so you've got the sediment in there. And so you want to pour it off, so you use distilled water in its place. Now, the other thing, when you have your That is, if you use stainless steel bolts going down from the lid, here at the bottom, you get a piece of plastic, and you connect plastic to the ends so that they don't by chance vibrate and touch. Okay, so you run a piece of plastic across the bottom of it that keeps them separated. If you're using stainless steel bolts, water for gas, that's water. Number 4, gas. I have the link in the description. They use a stainless steel wire, that's coils, around plastic that's crossed, and so that it's completely separated. And they use a wire. That was in the beginning. Now there are these systems where they use plates, and it's a series of plates, and then they're divided by plastic bushings or plastic washers between the plates so they don't touch. And that's a new improved system that they've come up with last 4 or 5 years, I guess. But the original is what I'm telling you, the original method for doing this. And it's quick, easy, and inexpensive. Now, if you just take the stainless steel, a 12-volt battery, and water, nothing's going to happen. Okay, there's something missing. And what's missing is the catalyst. You need a catalyst. And the catalyst, just about everybody has in their cabinet. And for those of you who don't know, it's going to blow your mind when I tell you. Catch you later. Need some rest. Just wondering. Well, thanks for the support, brother. Thanks for your time. We'll catch you on the rebound for sure. Is you use baking soda, like a teaspoon and a half of baking soda to like a quart jar. So when you put that baking soda in, you can test it. You can create this, try it without the baking soda. When you put the baking soda in, it mixes with the water. And on the outer surface of whether it's a steel bolt or a plate, off the surface, you're going to get these tiny bubbles that develop, and they're bubbling off of it like these little bitty micro bubbles. I mean, they are micro. You can see them. There'll be lots of them. Well, that's the hydrogen and the oxygen being separated, and it comes from the two plates. But if you're using plates, then it's the negative and positive plate, or if it's 2 stainless steel bolts, it's coming off the surface of that, and it's separating right there. And so you want to relay, and the reason you want to relay, because you turn your key off, you want that power to shut off. You don't want the hydrogen continuing to be being created, which is then going into your motor, and then you go to start it, and either your plugs are fouled out and it won't start. Now they're fouled out, and you've got to take all your plugs out of your car and clean them because you left your hydrogen. It just was running, nonstop because you had no switch. Some people hook a wire up to like their light switch in their car, and that's their off and on button that way. Or you do the switch, the relay. So when you turn your key off, it turns it off. When you turn your key on, it automatically kicks it on. Okay, now, the Egyptian gamer geek. Thanks for being here. Now, the thing that you want to do is you need you need your hydrogen, which is called your hydrogen container with your stainless steel bolts in it. You want a plastic lid. Okay, then connected to this through a tube, you go into another bottle, and it's a water bottle. And your water bottle's filled, about 2/3 of the way up, because you want an air gap at the top. Okay? So you have a tube coming from the electrolyzer where the hydrogen's being made. The term is electrolyzer. That's the component you've now created with your stainless steel bolts and your 12 volts coming into the top of them. Okay. And then you go from here. So you take a tube that's in the top of the lid, and you run that tube into your water bottle all the way down to the bottom of your water bottle. Okay. So you're just up so far from the top, or, whatever, so far down in the water. Okay. And so the hydrogen goes through the tube down in the water, then bubbles up, and it's caught in the air gap at the top, which then pressurizes and goes into your motor, into your intake of your motor. And that is your safety device. If there was a backfire, if there's something was to happen, your water bottle is your safety feature in this setup. Okay. And I've ran on this for 2+ years, never a problem. And there's just there's even more to discuss. If you have a non-computerized car, there are different ways for connecting it and hooking it up. You can hook it up to the vacuum off a carburetor. So it's being pulled through the vacuum on the carburetor. But then on your lid of your jar, you have a drip system that you can, you put it on top and you can turn it on the top, and it will decrease the amount of air that it allows for it to flow through, so you can regulate the amount that it's drawing from a carbureted car, an older vehicle. And if there's no computer, that's even better for you. Because if you have a computer, then every 300 or 400 miles, you have to reset the computer by disconnecting the positive off the battery, and then reconnecting it, and it resets. And then you need to tie into your map sensor, and that's something else. So you need a device, map sensor regulator, that you have to hook up to it for the new cars. And so there's some other components here that you need for these newer vehicles. And my old Ford Dodge Dakota, that's what was there. Okay. And so there's a lot more to know. Now, after the live stream, Joe MacGyver, not if you have a map sensor on the O2 sensor. You need to regulate it and control it. And so you need a map sensor regulator, which is a device you can actually buy on eBay. Now, Water for Gas will tell you where you components, and you can actually buy them and then solder them and create your own and make it yourself. And they tell you how and what you need and where you can go to get it. Some of these parts you can get from Radio Shack, actually. Okay, you need potentiometers, 2 of them. That's like a volume control. And that's how you decrease or increase, where you make the adjustments to the map sensor. But you got to tie into the map sensor. And Water for Gas gives you all the information you need to know. They've got like 6 CDs, and they will sell you these 6 CDs explaining to you the whole entire process of how this works, how to make it, how to create it. And then they sell you ready-made devices ready to go, ready-made electrolyzers to go. And they explain to you what to do and how to do it. There are also guys that you can find that will hook them up for you and install it on your car. Now, like I was saying, they have a new improved system where there's metal plates, stainless steel plates, and it's in a little plastic container, box, whatever. Then you have water going into it from a water reservoir, like your windshield wiper water reservoir, with your baking soda and your distilled water mix that feeds it. And it's an improved system. And I hear it works just as well. I don't have one of those. I don't know how that works. I mean, I know how it works, but I haven't used it, so I don't know if there's any differences. From what I understand, there's no difference. Then you also want to wrap your O2 sensor. It's the second one up, because that way it tricks the computer, makes it think it's running leaner, and it helps to counteract what the computer does. And that's a little tip and trick. Or you can get an extender to extend that O2 sensor. That's another way to do it. Or otherwise, you take aluminum foil. I took heavy aluminum foil, folded it about 3 times, wrapped it about 3 times. Then I took electrical copper wire, and twisted it in a couple different places to hold it on the O2 sensor. That's what I did, and it worked well. But this is the gist of it. We don't really have too many people here. I was hoping we would have more people. I was hoping maybe more people would stick around. As I'm seeing presently, I should do a part 2 to this and show it, have the actual components and show it, which will, pictures worth 1,000 words, as I always say. So I guess I need to do a part 2 on this. But water for gas, the link is in the description. After the live stream, I will put another link in there, and the link is Eagle Research. The link will be under Eagle Research. I will put their link in there, and they have books and just a wealth of information. Believe it or not, they have created what's called a hydrogen torch, water torch. And the hydrogen water torch is amazing. It will cut a piece of steel. You can take that torch and run it across your hand, and it will not burn you. Come here, girl. And it will not burn you. It's called a hydrogen torch, and they're for sale. You can get them. In the beginning of this, when they were creating them, there was blueprints once upon a time, but nowadays they sell them. And these water torches are amazing, and it's created from hydrogen. Absolutely amazing. They have hydrogen heaters. Back around 2011, they were developing the hydrogen heater, home heater. Heaters run on hydrogen. I mean, it's just amazing the development that they've come up in this hydrogen, and why it's not in mainstream. Why it's not something you can go buy, I don't know. And why it's not talked about. You don't hardly hear about it at all. But these are real, they work, and they're very efficient. Not used a hydrogen heat, but I have seen them. I remember the development. And guys were working on them. And so anyways, there's a little bit of info for you. So this Eagle Research has information on all this stuff. And you can also create a hydrogen for your car where you can literally run, are you ready for this? On 3% gasoline. 3% gasoline you can run on. The way the system is designed. And they're taking stainless steel tubes, a 5-inch and a 4-inch, and they're putting them one in the other. Plastic cutting board, use like a hole saw, and you seal it, and you can get this set up on your car and you can actually get 3% gasoline. 3% gasoline will run your car down the road with this hydrogen that you can create for your motor. It's a blessing. It's huge. From what I understand, the two brothers that started making this hydrogen known, from the story that I had heard, is they started selling it. They worked for Shell, and they worked on the Shell diesels, and they discovered this hydrogen that Shell was using on their diesels. And they decided that they were going to start selling it to like these, big companies, fleets. And they went out to dinner, and one of the brothers was poisoned. The other brother laid low for, 10 years or something. And then when he made it known, he gave it away. And he just made it known. He blew the roof off of it, made it known to the public, and exposed it. And this is the end result of all this stuff now that they have going on with the hydrogen, which is great. Shell recently, I've seen on YouTube here, where they're talking about hydrogen, and they say hydrogen attaches itself to the molecules of the air. That's a misnomer. Maybe in an enclosed environment. In the enclosed environment, but our atmospheric pressure is greater than the hydrogen molecules, and so it cancels it out. When I was testing this out in the very beginning, a friend of mine and I took this hydrogen, ran it into the bottle, and then we put a match on top, and the hydrogen was coming out. It was bubbling through the water like it does and goes into your motor. Okay? But we put a match on top of this jar, this container with hydrogen coming out. I think it was a Coke bottle. And we had a match sitting at the top of it, just so far off the water. A match. It wouldn't do nothing. We're looking at each other going, what? This is supposed to work? Have we been tricked? Don't work. And then this guy says, well, let's put a match to the end of the tube. Let's take her and put a match right at the end of this tube, and let's see what happens. And I'm like, well, I don't know. And air gap from the electrolyzer on the jar where it was being made. Okay, it pressurizes, and then it pushes itself. It's self-propelled because it pressurizes in the container in the air gap. And I'm going, I don't know. I said it looks really weak. Nothing's happening. It's coming up through the water, and it's nothing. And we've got a match right over the top of it. Nothing. Zero. It really looks dead. And so I said, well, okay, if you want to. And so I stepped back into about the middle of the garage, and he's got about 3-4 feet between the end of the tube and where the jar is setting that it's connected to. And I'm talking a little fish aquarium type tube here, okay? I'm talking a little tube. And he turns it on, he plugs it into a battery. And he's sitting, and it took, 3 or 4 seconds for the gases to come up, the hydrogen to work its way down the tube to the end of it. Well, as soon as it got, because he's got a match sitting there waiting. And when that hydrogen reached the end of that tube and hit that match, the first thing it did is it lit up the end of the tube like a light bulb, like a flashlight light bulb. You saw this little bulb, bam, you saw the light pop, and it just was right there at the end, inside the tube. It never came out. Then it went back, and it moved like a fuse. And when it went back into the jar, there was an air gap, like I said, in the jar about like this. This is the water, and this is the top of the lid in this canning jar, right? So there wasn't much, just a little bit. and it blew. Bam! It blew. Now the lid was plastic, thank God. If that was a metal lid, that would have not have been a good thing. But you want a plastic lid on these jars. It's the best way to go. And this is why they've created these other systems. Okay. But that's why you have the water bottle. It goes from there, from your electrolyzer, where the hydrogen, out the cap, through a tube, into a water bottle. Then in the top of that tube runs down into the water. Then in the top of the cap, you have another tube that's glued just into the top of that cap. And then that goes into the intake manifold of your vehicle, where the hydrogen is now going into your motor, mixing and giving you a better burn. But the water bottle is, okay, that water bottle is really necessary with that setup. You don't want to run it without it because you don't know. It's just not smart. Could you do not do that? I am telling you, you must have a water bottle. You go from the what's called the electrolyzer, where the hydrogen's being made. You have a tube and just inside the top of that lid, going into a water bottle, down into the water, 3-4 inches or so, 6 inches, I don't care, into the water. You want an air gap at the top of the water bottle. Then in the top of that lid, you have a tube just inside the top of it, down inside. Then that tube goes into the motor, into your intake manifold, or into the vacuum on your carburetor. But now, like I was saying, water for gas has these systems that are been modified and redesigned, and they're, as far as I know, they're fail safe. As far as I know, this other one I had for several years, no issues. But there's more to know about it. There's missing information here. But I filled you in on all the basics and plus a little more. That's for sure. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Now, for gas, they have their original system, where they take like plexiglass and interlink them, so you have like this X pattern, and then the stainless steel wires wrapped around them, and it goes up to the top of the jar. But this is the beginning. This is the original method that was used. That was like 10, 12, 14 years ago at this point. And so they've got much better, nicer designs. They run you from, depending, a couple $100 to or more. If you make it yourself, it's less. And the way I'm talking about it, it's really inexpensive. Marine glue, you want marine goop to seal your components, your lids with, where you put your stuff in. Marine goop. It's very toxic. Don't breathe it. Do it outdoors when you use it. I was holding my breath and using it indoors, and I could feel it burning my nasal cavity. I mean, my nose, inside. So use it outdoors. This marine goop turns into like a plastic when it dries, and it works really well. But let's be cautious. Let's not be reckless. Let's be safe. And like I said, I've had no issues, none. Many others. But now you can't leave it on when it's not running, meaning you can't just turn on the TV and listen to the radio, because you're going to be creating hydrogen. You can also put it on a switch, a toggle switch, right? And so you might need somebody that's more electrically inclined, or somebody that does electrical, or a good mechanic that has knowledge of that. But there's different methods and different techniques. So the other one is Eagle Research, and I will have Eagle's Research's link in the description. And I will see if I can't locate my on the hydrogen, where you can see the units, and the basics of how it's hooked up and what it looks like. So on that note, there's nobody here that I know of. I read 0 on my chat. There could be somebody sitting listening, or a couple people there sitting listening, just haven't commented, so it shows 0. Okay, there is one person there, or somebody just dropped in. So have you been here for this whole time, or did you just drop in? Because as far as I know, there hasn't been anybody here for about 10, 15 minutes. And I just continue to share and talk about this to give as much information as possible with no interaction. And there's more to share. There's more to talk about. Fan 701 just dropped in. Been here about 5. All right. Thank you very much, Fan. This really works. I put up a video back in 2011 where I used you could use stainless steel spoons too, but drilling holes in stainless steel spoons are difficult. You need a special drill bit to drill through stainless steel spoons, but you could even use spoons. I've used silver. I've used old silver spoons, but it turns the water black really fast. Worked with the system back many years. All right, so you understand. Yeah, I have a video. I'll have to find it and upload it, put it in my description. But you only use stainless steel and, like I said, silver, but it really erodes the silver quickly. And it turns your water black really fast. We had a 30-inch stainless steel tube. Okay, yes. Did you have a 5-inch, then a 4-inch on the inside? Because I've seen the blueprints where, and a vehicle that was in Australia had it set up. They had these 24-inch stainless steel tube, 5 inches, 4-inch on the inside, capped with plastic cutting boards. And then it went to the manifold with the plate, and in Australia they used a carburetor off of a lawnmower. And they took off the carburetor, put a plate down, put the carburetor off a lawnmower on that plate over the manifold, with copper pipe being piped into that plate that the carburetor was on from their tube. And this was on a truck, actually like a Datsun truck with a V8 motor in it, over in Australia. It was 1 inch and a tiny bit smaller, 6-inch tube cells total. Okay. Yeah. Fat old son. Are you serious? Okay. Thanks for dropping in. All right. And so what kind of carburetor did you use? Did you use like they did in like a nice scene where they used a carburetor off of a lawnmower? Or did you use, from what I've learned is they're also using carburetors for hey fat old son. Or did you use a propane carburetor? Because I hear that propane carburetors work really well for that. And that's probably more of the standard, I'm thinking. But the one I seen, well, like, subscribe, and I'll be sure to hit your channel and all of that. We're not trying to run an engine at the time, just trying to optimize production. Oh, okay, all right. Were you using a propane carburetor? Was it on a motor? What was the hydrogen doing? Or what was the hydrogen fueling? It was fueling something, or added to as an additive to increase your power, so you didn't bog down, I'm not sure what it is. What are you referring to? You're not trying to run an engine at the time, just trying to optimize production. Production of what? Oh, I fan. Yeah, if you haven't joined, join, and I'll be sure to hit your channels for sure. Showing support, united we stand, united we're making it happen here on YouTube. So if you're able to mention what you were optimizing your production on, I'm just kind of curious how else you were using the hydrogen. Because these doing the stainless steel tubes, this was a 5-inch and a 4-inch. And then you take like a cutting board, a plastic cutting board, and you do a hole saw and you cut into it a little bit, and that becomes your caps with rubber down inside. Okay, I haven't streamed yet. I'm going to stream before too long. Okay, well, hit my channel and I'll come and subscribe to your channel. And when you upload, I'll get your notification back to my channel and let me know, hey, I uploaded. You know, that way if I something, it's in my comments and I can come over to your channel. We were not utilizing the gas, just experimenting. Okay, all right. You will really like the link, Eagle Research's link when I put it in the description. This video, I'm gonna put in the description. Yeah, okay. Fat old son, for sure. The description, Eagle Research's link. They have got a wealth. They've got books and books and books on every aspect of this that you can imagine. I don't know if you were here when I was saying that they have this water torch. We did capture some and detonated it. Yes. Oh, yeah. Scott Mechanic Gas makes big yes. 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 I don't know if you were here when I was saying that when I was first put it on my vehicle, a friend of mine was going, let's test it. So we pulled it out and we put it on a table in the garage. And we had the jar here. There's a jar, a canning jar with a plastic lid. And then we had a battery, you know, and the electrolyzer. The jar was about 3 foot away on the table. And then the end of the tube was at the edge. But we put the tube down into a bottle of water. And the water was so far from the top, you know, of the bottle. So we had a little air gap there. We got a match over the top. And I haven't made one for some time. I have an old one that I need to get out of my shed and have another topic. Do a part 2 to this one. I need to do a part 2. But it's with the canning jar, and you really want to use a plastic lid is best. A big mouth canning jar. Anyways, so we had this tube going down in the water, down in this bottle. And we have a match over the top, and it's bubbling and it's fizzing, you know, and it's so far down from the top, and the match is right there at the top of it. Nothing. I forgot that the atmospheric pressure is greater than hydrogen, so it cancels it out once it's in the environment. It has to be in an enclosed environment for it to really work. And I forgot about that. So I'm looking at this friend of mine, and he's looking at me. We're going, this is dead. Have we been duped? We've been tricked. This doesn't work. And he's going, well, let's just stick the match to the end of the tube. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm going, well, I'm concerned about it, so maybe we should try it. You want a good thing the lid was plastic. And so he lights a match, and we hook it up to the battery. Very bad Very bad, my brother. Very bad. It was a real eye opener, a real awakening experience. Let me tell you, you already know. So I'm standing in the middle of the garage, about 8 feet away from him or so, and he's 2 feet, 3 feet from the bottle, the electrolyzer. Right? He's like 2-3 foot away from it because he's got the end of the tube. And I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and 2 or 3 seconds go by. Next thing you know, the end of the tube lights up like a light bulb, like a flashlight light bulb. Boop, it lit. Then it went back about that fast. It went back, man, like a fuse. And his eyes got big as saucers, mine got big as saucers, and he's doing this, and I'm ducking in myself, and wham! And I got this wall of wet wind, whoosh, flew by me. And I'm still like this, And he comes over and goes, "Hey, it's okay." And he was on top of it. It blew it straight up to the ceiling, a big old wet spot on the ceiling. And yeah, that could have been very serious. Not something you want to do. Do not do that. Do not. It could hurt you seriously. So I do not want people to test this. Do not. That wasn't safe. That could have been lethal. We had a plastic lid, and that made all the difference in the world. I have made one with a metal lid, but I took little rubber tubing, and I put my metal rod, my metal bolt into the rubber, so it was insulated from the metal top of the metal lid. But then and I ran it in my vehicle like that. But I'm here to tell you, if there was a metal lid while we were testing it, that could have been serious, very serious. So it's not a toy. It's not something. It's real. And Fan 701 can tell you it's real. Yeah. Yep. The oxygen makes a reaction serious for sure. Some electrolyzers separate the hydrogen and oxygen. Good use double bubbler setup. Yes, that's what I had mentioned earlier before you were on. I had mentioned I'm going to take off. All right. Hit my channel, make a comment on one of my videos, and I will be able to catch up with you. And thanks for dropping in and getting to know you. What's your channel going to be about? Do you have any idea? Do you have any direction or any kind of ideas of what you're going to do on your channel? And if you need help with ideas, hit me up and we can talk about, different ways to go, different things you could do. If you like, I'd be more than happy to do that, help you out with some ideas and some information with your channel. But anyways, let me see what you just said. Okay. The double bubbler. Oh, yes, from the electrolyzer, I have a water bottle. So I got a tube in the top of my electrolyzer going down. That tube goes down into a bottle. Then the hydrogen comes up into this air gap. And then I have a second tube that's just inside the cap a little ways, that the hydrogen then goes from the water bottle that's contained in the air gap. I have it in the water bottle that then goes into the intake manifold on my truck. This was on an 04 Dodge Dakota. I went from 18 miles a gallon highway to 36 miles a gallon highway. The other thing that helps is you go to that's been a while. I think it's the second CO2 sensor You have one at the bottom and one at the top. I believe it's the one at the top. It's the second one. And you take aluminum foil. I took heavy aluminum foil and I folded it in. I folded it like 3 times, made it so wide. I made it, LOL, failing fast, but all right. Hey, Buzzsaw, thank you. You can replay this. I've tried to share quite a lot of information here. But on the O2 sensor, I took this heavy aluminum foil, folded it like 3 times, made it about so wide. Then I wrapped it around my O2 sensor like about 3 times. Then I secured it with electrical copper wire that from the house electrical. That's what I had. And so I twisted it in a couple different places to really lock it in there. And that tricks the computer so that it helps you get better mileage. Yes, a guy named John Aaron of Hydrogen Tap on YouTube ran this Honda car and saw some decent gains with, yes. Now, what I've learned also is I was at this shop where I was talking to him about the hydrogen on my car. And I was back in there talking to him, and they had a Honda come in and they were pumping too much hydrogen in that motor, and that burned the valves because it was too much. I would get a bubble a second. That's how much hydrogen I was creating. Every second I'd get a bubble. 1001, a bubble. 1002, a bubble. 1003, a bubble. 1004, a bubble, and so on. So what I was creating was a bubble a second of hydrogen, and that gave me this unbelievable gas mileage. I never had problems with my valves, burning my valves or hurting my motor or doing any kind of internal damage at all. Problem is, like if you go 97% hydrogen, which is the stainless steel tubes that we were talking about, you have to have stainless steel rods and valves and rings and pistons. I mean, it all needs to be stainless in order to run it at that rate. That was something I didn't think about till right now. Is to run 97% hydrogen, 3% gas, you need a stainless steel internals, or it'll rust from what I've read, and it will lock your motor up. After 2 weeks, I'm told your motor will be locked up. So that's the setback. But like I said, you need stainless steel motor to run that and it work efficient and without any issues. When you're running at 97%, because when you're running at 97% hydrogen, you've got water literally running out your tailpipe. When you're running, but you have to have stainless steel pistons, rings, maybe not pistons, but I'm thinking probably pistons too. I know stainless steel rings, valves, lifters, all of that needs to be stainless. When you're producing that much and running on 97% hydrogen and 3% gas, using either a carburetor off of a lawnmower or a propane carburetor, that you can adjust the fuel down. Or if you have a mechanic that knows the computers and you can adjust that computer to retard the gas flow, you can go that route also. But that's somebody that can go in and make the adjustments on the actual computer on the car that overrides and will only give you 3% gas output. But that's somebody that, really it's got to be something that they already know in order to do that. And that's somebody not too many people know. Where do you find these guys? I don't know. That I don't know. That's when you do it through the computer itself. But that is an option. So it does work. I was just looking at hydrogen tubes. I'm not hydrogen tubes. I was just looking at stainless steel tubes. They're like $1,000 or $2,500 for a 10-foot stick. I think it is. So the price of these stainless steel tubes have gone way up in price. And it's like you need to go take out a small loan, or if you have some savings, you have to pull it out of your savings just to make this thing. But if you bought a 10-foot stick, you could make them and maybe sell them, you know. But I'm just saying that's something I've done recently as I've looked at that. Yep, we spent some bucks. It was about $300 back when we did it. Well, if you still have it, it's worth holding on to and using, that's for sure. But now the expense is getting the stainless steel rings, valves, lifters, etc. Nowadays, if you already have the unit. And yes, okay, cool. It's just getting the stainless steel components for the motor so that you can run it, you know. But that's cool. You got half of it, you got a third of it anyway. That's cool. Now, diesel motors may not be the same. You may be able to not get around not having to have stainless, maybe. I don't know enough about it. But from what little bit I know, is you might be able to use it on a diesel motor without going stainless. But that's something, if you don't know, you'd have to verify and check out. You'd have to do some research to find out about that. I'd hate to see you seize a motor up and testing it out, you know. But it's still cheaper than what it would cost. For sure. If you don't know it, Insane Friends or Sane Auto has car show videos, really nice, top-notch car show videos. Then he's come up with this Insane Friends community. And you might like to join this Insane Friends community. He goes live on Wednesdays in the evening, about 5 or 6. He's in the South. He goes live on Sundays in the evening, I think around 6 o'clock his time, I want to say. He goes live, I think, another day during the week as well. But if you go to Insane Friends or go to Sane Auto, you'll see it. You'll be able to connect. He was in a stream with us. Okay, tonight. Okay, yes. Okay. Yeah, like his buddy Camaro time. Okay, right on. Good. I didn't know if you were a part of that group or if you just happened to see hydrogen pop up and so you just come over to check it out. So I'm glad to know you're part of the Insane Friend community. That's cool. Yeah, so if you want to, talk some more about this or whatever, after I upload this video, or while it's uploading, I'm going to put in the Eagle Research link that you can come back and, let this play for a few minutes and grab the link of the Eagle Research. They've got books and books. There's a wealth of knowledge there. 12, 15 years ago, I was able to get their phone number. Now it's not even listed, and they don't answer. They just answer with a hello. But I haven't called them in years and years. I have no clue if they're even. Lonesome Garage sent me over. I'm from the Gasket mini bike community. Spent some years experimenting with many things. Okay. Have you heard of the water torch that they made, I want to say about back in 2011, it was under development. There was a group of guys working on it from Google Groups. And they finally got it figured out, and they created a water torch. They're cutting metal. Yet you can take the flame and run it on your hand and you don't even get burnt. That's unbelievable. How's that? You know, the dynamics of that. It'll cut a metal right now in half right through it. Yet you run the flame across your hand and it won't touch you. That's unbelievable. Saw videos of Stanley Myers using one. Okay, yes, all right. Yeah, see, then you know. Then you would really like this link to Eagle Research. They've got books, and their website's just full of knowledge, full of information. And this will probably serve you really well, having this link to having access to these guys. But like I was saying, I had called them way back. Okay, yeah, if you've been around looking at this stuff since the 80s, it may be because they've been around like since the 70s. What did the guy tell me? I spoke to him a couple different times on the phone back like in 2011. You know, they may have changed their phone number. I don't know. I haven't tried to talk to him since then. But yeah, they answer with a hello. And anyways, the guy said they had some stuff like from 76 they were doing. And so now they've got, like I say, books and books for sale, all kinds of information. And Stanley Myers, I have a thing on Stanley Myers. It looks, and they show you how to make it. It looks like a fuel. I'm going brain dead. It looks like an injector, and it separates the hydrogen from the water. Yeah, yes, a lot of these guys were working with it long before they showed it. Yeah, I bet they had to have been. But they said they were like 76 that they were doing stuff. But anyways, what I'm talking about is it looks like it screws into your spark plug hole and it separates out the hydrogen from the water right there in this device, and it takes the place of your spark plugs. And you're running, from what I understand, on straight water, distilled water. I might have something on that. I have to go back and dig through and see if I still have something on that. But I was like, what? You know? Well, Eagle Research may have books on that and information on that. But if you want to talk sometime on this, you know, do you have a Google Hangouts app that you have access to Google Hangouts? But so if you want to talk or something, you know, share information or whatever, we could do that as well. Just let me know. You could put it in the comments and let me know in the comments after this live stream. But well, shoot, I'm really glad you dropped in. I'm thinking, you know, I could probably learn a few things from you as well, for sure. So I don't have any muscle cars. I used to have a 68 Dodge Charger back in the early 80s. It was an RT 68 Dodge Charger. I was talking of my last live stream with Insane Friends was about 3 weeks ago. How that I could cruise down the freeway at like 70 miles an hour, right? Downshift into second gear and stomp on, and that car just wow! The four barrels would kick in and I'd be gone, man. Wow, that car was so much fun. Didn't know about hydrogen then, but that car was fun. Nowadays, I think these new cars, you drop the transmission in the road, you know? You try that. Anyways, so Yeah, those are nice. People don't realize the power of the little. No, they do not. They have no clue, especially this real young generation, guys that are in their 20s. No idea. Fast and Furious is the only thing that gives them a clue. It's Fast and Furious. The only thing, you know. I remember being a teenager seeing the big blowers like they have on that Charger in Fast and Furious. I remember seeing those a few times. I was just like in unbelief. I never rode in one with a blower on it like that, but I could imagine. My car put you back in the seat, and I was in a few cars that would throw you harder to the backs, to the seat, and even my car did. A lot more power, and that 440, was pretty good. And it had a little bit of work done to it, not a whole lot, but enough that you could definitely have some fun with it. But anyways, so I guess I'm gonna wrap it up, and I'll try to put a link or find my video with the hydrogen on my truck. But you probably already know, but I'm going to put that up for other people if I can find that link, and we'll see how that goes. So, all right. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you hanging out. And that was Fan 701. Thanks for being here, brother. I look forward to hearing from you. My time slot is Thursdays from 7:30 to 9:30 until further notice. I could go later if we had more people in the chat. But at this point, I don't want to just drag it on, So I appreciate your input. It's really been good. And to know somebody that's created one of these cylinders, the setups, is cool. And maybe we could talk one of these days, You could share a little bit more with me about it. But like I said, I have a picture of this motor with this setup on it, if I could pull it off an old computer. It just showed it, and it talked about it in the article that I was reading, but I did like a computer copy and paste, and so I got a picture of this, if I can retrieve it. But it shows the carburetor, this little bitty carburetor, and they were saying it came off of a lawnmower, and this plate over the intake manifold, and then the copper pipe going down into it. Hydrogen on demand is a very misunderstood system. It's hard to get folks to be interested. An alternate, it is, because you're right. You hit it on the head, nail on the head there. It is misunderstood. Just recently, I don't know if you've seen it, but Shell is where it was heard that had this hydrogen on their diesel trucks, and these two guys that were mechanics worked for them, learned about this hydrogen setup and started to sell it to other companies. And one brother they were invited out to dinner, and one brother was poisoned and died. The other brother laid low for, 10 years or something. And then he started giving away the information. He just made it known. He blew the roof off of it. And that's how it was exposed. But Shell started it. As far as I know, that's the story I heard. But here recently, they've been doing commercials saying hydrogen attaches itself to the atoms in the air only in an enclosed environment. That's what they're not telling people. So I think they're trying to scare the public with using it, is what I think. Because, like I said, we had the hydrogen going down into it. It was through a tube, down in the water, bubbling up at the top, a match over it, nothing happening. We pulled it out of the water, put a match to the end of the tube. It didn't come out of the tube. The end of that tube lit up like a light bulb, and then it went back. It never exposed itself to our atmosphere. It stayed within the tube. And so I think Shell's trying to scare people by saying hydrogen attaches itself to the molecules of the air in an enclosed environment, or else our atmospheric pressure is greater than the hydrogen and it cancels it out. Now, that's information I read. I'm in the beginning, way back when I was learning about this. And so they're trying to scare people. But in an enclosed environment, yes. In the tube, in a jar, you know, the motor work and mix with the gas and burn. They want people to think hydrogen and my eyes are blurring out on me. Okay. They want, hold on, a hydrogen, they especially don't want people knowing you can turn down the explosive rare to whatever speed you want. There's got to be you can set up a system to control it. You know, how else do they have the water torch, you know, or the heater? They have a hydrogen heater. They were developing, I remember I was on Google Groups and there was a group of guys that was developing the hydrogen home heater that ran off a power pack from your computer. And it was under development. That was back in 2011. And then I remember when they had the blueprints for sale, and then they stopped selling them and they started selling the units. And now you have to buy if you want one, you got to buy the whole unit. Hey, dump the O2 and just use okay, but in dumping the O2, I'm not sure how you dump the O2. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I remember reading something about, this has been a few years ago now, where they were letting the O2 escape or something. I don't quite remember, but I remember them talking about that. But it's vague nowadays. I haven't read this information for a long time. But but maybe we could talk one of these days about this, you know. That would be cool. We could share some information for sure. But I remember them talking about too much O2 and getting rid of it and using the hydrogen. I remember that. But I don't remember how they were dividing or separating it out. That I don't remember. Well, we have two people someone that came to the chat. You have designed your cell to do that, but that is wasteful. There is a better way to turn and burn the rare. Okay. This is why I'm saying maybe, you know, email, you know, hit me up in the comments after the live stream. We've got two people just came into the room. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you being here. To really get a better one person left. It's okay. You can always go back and do a replay or watch it after the live stream. A lot of information to glean from here. And Fan 701 has good understanding and knowledge about this as well. So the second person in the chat on standby, if you're unable to comment, and if that's the case, I understand. You can go back and do a replay. You can watch from the beginning to end after the live stream. Comment. If you can't comment, you can't comment, but you know, that's always appreciated, and you're going to gain a lot of information and a general understanding about what's going on by watching the whole video. or gleaning, just kind of surf through the video, you know. So video broadcast, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, yeah, I have some information too. I've got some information. I need to go back and reread it. But Water for Gas, they give you all the information for. Last time I checked, I really enjoyed working with Ben Energizer Setups. Enjoyed it. Have a great night. Yes. Okay. I haven't heard of that. I'll have to put his name in YouTube or Google and see what comes up. It had to been. Hopefully we can talk later. That would be good. That'd be cool. So I know I talked to a guy one day, said he had $100-mile carburetor. He used stainless steel wire. He had a big throat on it and had the jets at the top, and it would spray out on the stainless steel screen, and then the gas would be sucked through the screen, which would turn into a mist, and he was getting 100 miles a gallon. But he said he was told after him and a buddy developed it that he needs to just keep that under wraps. We were talking about hydrogen when he shared that little bit with me. And so I'm just kind of throwing it out there right now for what it's worth. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I never imagined until he said that. It made sense, though. I wonder if there's more involved. That's what I don't know. But I just threw it out there, catch, for what it's worth. All right, it's been good you being here. I don't know who else is here, but thanks for being there. And if you can comment, and look forward to hearing from you. And maybe we can, connect later. That'd be good. All right, God bless. Bye for now. And never give up, because there's always a way. Always. You just need to get that information, the unknown information. Bye for now, and bye. And thanks for being here, everybody. And thanks for your time. Thank you. Look forward to hearing from you, bro.